Welcome to The Good Life, a parent's perspective with Carolyn. In the early days, parents of young children with disability are often told to limit their hopes and dreams for their child's future. In this series, we speak to parents further along in their journey. They share the steps they took throughout their child's life to support them in building a good life based on their individual strengths, interests and aspirations. I'd firstly like to do an acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Kindred acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. My name is Bree, and I'm joining you today from the land of the Murrumarang people of the Yuin Nation. For those that are watching that are new to Kindred, Kindred is a not-for-profit organisation that empowers families of children with developmental delay or disability and medical needs to build their skills, knowledge and confidence to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling to their child and family. We do this through a range of supports, including peer groups, workshops, webinars, which you've joined today, resource development and the sharing of stories of family and people with disability. You can find information on all our programs and supports on our website. You can also follow us on social media and sign up to our mailing list to be kept informed of new events and resources. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Caroline and I are going to have a conversation about how she supported Tom to have a good life. If you do have a question that comes to mind during the presentation, please use the Q&A box. And for those who are watching live in the Kindred community, please use the comment section below. We will endeavour to answer your questions that come through towards the end of today's session. So today we're joined by Caroline. Thank you for being here. Mother to Tom, also known as 10 Cent Tom. Tom is a business owner, a social entrepreneur and a recycling advocate. We're first going to have a look at Tom's good life story. And as I said, then we're going to go into a conversation about some of the challenges Tom faced, how you overcame these, and some of the sports that you've used along the way. So I'm going to jump straight into Tom's good life story. It's a cracker. I loved watching this. It was shared on social media, I think, on Friday night. And I love Friday nights when these stories come up because, yeah, Tom he's a character. I love it. Here it goes.
Hi, I'm Tom Pirie, and I have my very own 10 Cent Tom recycling business. Here's the story of my good life. From little things, big things grow. 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 Good life for people with a disability is the same for any other Australian. Having a job they love, being a part of the local community, having goals and dreams.
Oh, I'm sitting here with the biggest smile on my face. I can imagine it makes you really proud watching that. But what an incredible young man you are raising.
He's it's
really, and you know, you can see the joy in his face in what he does. He absolutely loves it. But it's so wonderful to see what Tom's been up to these days. But I'd like to go back to the beginning. And I know we've spoken about this before, but I just wanted you to share a little bit about Tom as a young child and I guess your path to diagnosis.
Sure.
So we can see your face.
Yeah. Tom is my second child. I have an older one. And when Tom, as a newborn, he was very unsettled, screaming all the time, needed me beside him all the time. And, you know, as time went by, very early days, obviously as a mother, my instinct was that something's not quite right with Tom from very early days. So trips backwards and forwards to hospital, me, saying there's something not right. But I was told, he's just one of those kids that needs his mum 24/7. So I'm like, right. He wasn't reaching milestones. He was hardly stringing 2-3 words together, which I was concerned about because my older boy did that. And you also, I think, as a parent, and you go to play groups, and I know we're not supposed to compare, but we do. So I started Tom in some speech therapy when he was young, and I remember the speech therapist saying to me, "Don't worry, he will talk." I'm like, okay. And now Tom, he's just about 21. I want my money back from that guy because he doesn't shut up. So yeah, he did get there.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love that you said that, he couldn't string a few words together. To hear him speak in that video, it's incredible. And for him to memorize what he wants to say and speak directly to the camera, like, look how far he's come.
Yeah.
It's really great that you were able to access early intervention prior to Tom's diagnosis. How was school for Tom?
So school for Tom, I had him in private school purely because I thought it was, smaller, more nurturing. He had a teacher aide, which he loved, and we still keep in touch with today.
That's lovely.
But I think by the time he got to year 4, school were probably finding him, he was extra work compared to the everyday child. So school called us in for an interview to say in a nicer way that perhaps the public system would be better for Tom. So so we changed Tom from private to public, and in hindsight, for us personally, I think Tom would have excelled more in the public system. He was even better supported. He was like, there was iPads available to him in the public system, where in the private system he had one, but you have to provide all that stuff. So there was a lot more stuff available in the public system to Tom than what there was at private.
And how was he included in the public school? Like, were there difficulties to that? Like, I do recall you mentioning something about a school camp, that it was a little bit difficult.
So this was back in the private school. They had a school camp, and of course I said, I want Tom to go. They were already putting up the barriers, going, maybe he could just take those few days off school. I went, no, he can come to the camp. It's just down the road. They were like, oh, well, what if he has trouble sleeping? I said, he won't have any trouble sleeping, but I'll tell you, if there's a problem, just call me. I'm just down the road. And it was fine. But, they weren't inclusive private school, even though they would say they would be. Yeah. But anyway, he went to camp, and I picked him up early on the last day because they were doing swimming, and apparently that would be unsafe for Tom. So yeah, but anyway.
He got there. And was so once he went to public school, was it a bit more inclusive? Did that work better in that respect?
Well, he went to public school, and he was still in I think they called us the SEP, so special ed program class. But they did because it was only primary too. At that stage, so they did integrate quite a bit in the primary school. I'd say when he got to high school, he was in the special ed section, and they don't seem to mix them too well. Like sports days, they've got the SEP kids sitting in their tent, and yeah.
So outside of school, were there any activities that Tom was involved in?
When Tom was little, he loved to be on stage, and a friend of mine suggested maybe put him into a theatre group, and there was a few quirky kids there. So I was like, it sounds perfect for Tom. So he used to go to Spotlight Theatre and be in plays and on the stage from very young, probably from I'd say probably 9 years old. So we go every weekend, they do an hour, and then eventually at the end of the year there'd be a play, and he was part of that. And I think that's probably one thing that's really helped Tom, because he loves to be on the stage. He loves to be on the centre of attention. So yeah.
Is that something that he's still involved in, or it's something that he just used to do? Does he still do theatre?
He doesn't do theatre, but he does like to be on the stage, as you would have seen that. And when we're doing recycling for major concerts, you know, he's invited to the stage to stand up there and tell everyone what his blue bins are. And you know, there's 6,500 people at the last audience we were at. I would be like shaking like a leaf, but not Tom.
Yeah,
he's out there.
He's definitely got the confidence to be a public speaker, doesn't he? So what were some of the challenges in the early days? I know Tom himself has mentioned that he struggled to fit in and make friends. Why do you think this was?
I think Tom, I mean, every child wants friends, but he would become friends and then be too in their face and not aware of spatial awareness, and quite vocal. So, you know, he made friends, but they quickly moved away.
And that something that, you know, that he sort of has made some adjustments as he's gotten older, or he still is very much in your face wanting to?
I'd say that he's still very much loud and in your face. He connects better with adults rather than kids his own age.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because maybe adults are just more understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know that you were trying to work with him in the early days just around that spatial awareness. And I know I just ask because my son's very much likes to be like this close to people. He just loves touching people and being on top of them. And I mean, I love it, but you know, not everybody likes that.
And I think one other thing that Tom does, and he forget, like he'll be talking to you and he talks very loudly. So I for a long time, and still do some days, say inside voices just to remind him to turn the volume down.
I've got one of those in my family, and I remember my neighbour saying to me, and she used to do theatre, she said, you need to get your daughter into theatre, she's got great projection. So that's why he excelled so much in his theatre group.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest fears for Tom when he was growing up?
Just not being included, and then obviously, you know, thinking about what job will Tom do, you know, when he finally finishes school. He did graduate and finish from year 12. He never was a child that he always wanted to go to school. It was never an issue. I guess I was lucky in that way. Yeah, it's probably just what job will he do? But I mean, like I said in the past, so I believe there's a job for everybody. Yep. It doesn't matter what your ability is.
Oh, and you know what, that brings me to my next question, actually, because when we spoke with Tom for our Good Life series, he said, growing up, Mum always told me, you are in charge of your own destiny. Tom, you have choices. And we hear that term so much as parents, that around choice and control. Why was this important to you?
I guess my own personal years of schooling, I wasn't pushed, so probably that's reflected put down to my children. But I just think, you know, like I see a lot of parents really focused on what results, you know, whether you get an A or a B on your report, and you know, everyone was comparing that sort of stuff, where I was never a parent to do that. I was just like, oh, look, it doesn't matter, as long as you just do your best, and you're happy with that, and I'll be happy with that. So yeah.
And Tom's got a brother, Jack, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jack's a biomedical engineer. Don't ask me how.
But I mean, like when we've spoken previously to this event, you talked about, like, you know, that you wanted it to be the same for Jack and for Tom.
Yeah. Jack was the same. You know, he didn't know what he was going to do when he left school, and he would do a lot of gaming, and I was like, okay, well, you know, I think there are some exams, or shouldn't you be doing some studying? Well, anyway, it's your choice, Jack. You know, like you're creating your your lifelong journey. If you choose not to do this, then that, you know, that's the way things will be for you. So I don't know, I think Jack in particular was like, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, Mum, so perhaps I might need to do a little bit of study. So yeah.
And is Jack older than Tom?
Yeah, Jack's 4 years older. Yeah.
And do you think maybe, I wonder, like, you know, how siblings feed off each other when Tom sort of saw Jack starting to, you know, take ownership of what he wants to do and where he wants. Do you think that kind of rubbed off on Tom?
Yeah, I'd say it would. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So the becoming of 10 Cent Tom. You've mentioned to me that recycling wasn't always Tom's passion, but how did 10 Cent Tom come about?
So like we talked about earlier, you know, like when Tom was younger, socially he didn't fit in. And then he said to me, I think I might start collecting bottles and cans. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, he said, I'll just go and ask the neighbours. I said, well, I think we need to like have a little spiel for you when you turn up. We're quite well known in the community. So we'll get you a T-shirt, 10 Cent Tom on it, and we'll practice what you're going to say. You're going to knock on the door and you're going to say, hi, I'm Tom, I'm 10 Cent Tom, and I collect bottles and cans. And I'm wondering if you would have any, or if next week, if you could save them and I could come back. And so, yeah, that's how that started.
Who came up with the name 10 Cent Tom? Did he come up with it himself, or?
Together, well, we went Tom and 10 cents, so 10 Cent Tom. Here we are.
I love it. It's so good. And obviously this was a really good chance for Tom to get to know the neighbours as well. So I guess it's like, not only was he doing his recycling, but he was creating connections with the community.
Yeah, really good. And, you know, there were some times when, you know, Tom would call me and he would say, Mum, I'm up in this street, and I think, oh my God, that's miles away. I don't even know the people. And he still to this day goes to the, you know, those houses that were quite away, like a good walk, and collects their bottles. Yeah.
And it really speaks to like that people keep people safe and communities keep people safe. So the fact that Tom's known, like, and that he can go to those extra streets, it's really great. But so obviously we started off with just collecting bottles and stuff from the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
What were the next steps? So what sort of did you do from there to encourage him to build his recycling empire?
Okay, so whilst he was in year 12 at school, I contacted our local shopping centre, which was a big one, the Pacific Fair, and asked if Tom could have a look through how their waste was dealt with. And it took a little while to get in, but anyway, they gave him the opportunity to go through just for a morning, and then showed Tom, and then they said, look, you know, because I'm the mother that's pushy and wanted to get him a job. They said we probably wouldn't be able to offer him anything in that area just due to the, you know, there's machinery and it'd be high risk. But what we might be able to do is offer Tom a role in concierge. So of course oh yes, he'd love that.
Well, he likes talking. He loves people.
Yeah, but the reality is he doesn't really know left from right, and comes with no filters, as a lot of our kids with disabilities do. So somebody asked him where Boost Juice was, and he said, you don't want to go there, it's too expensive. So from there, and then COVID came in. So the traineeship at Pacific Fair ended, and he was doing a Cert 2 in retail. So he traineeship got suspended. So I approached Tomra, where Tom had been taking his bottles and cans to local recycling, and said, could he finish his traineeship with them? Just one morning a week. He needed to do 4 hours for 8 weeks. So they took him on and finished that, which was nice of them. And then I pushed, as I always have, and said, can you please offer him just 1 day a week's job? Would be great. So he worked for Tomra for 18 months and learned a lot probably about the recycling, and he's not with them now. He's with another recycling company, totally different process, you know, that he's learnt like from a very machinery operated depot to a manual depot now. So more recycling skills.
You also just mentioned then COVID came. Obviously, a lot of people had downsides to COVID. Were there any upsides for Tom in regards to COVID happening and ceasing some of the stuff he had to do?
The upsides for Tom. Well, when COVID came, of course, we all went into major panic across the world. Oh my God, we can't touch this, we can't go there. And Tom, you cannot go and collect those bottles from down at Mrs. Jones's house anymore because they might be diseased. So it was very difficult for Tom to understand that. It was what he loved to do that every weekend. That was his passion, to go and collect those bottles. So we decided, Tom and I, that we would just write a little flyer and drop it into the letterbox of people and say, because of COVID, we're not going to be coming to get your bottles, but would you mind saving them? And time went on, probably 4 or 6 weeks, and Tom's chomping at the bit to get those bottles. So in the end, I just said, okay, just go and get the bottles. And all the people that we had left flyers for had saved their bottles and gave them to Tom. And I thought at the time, because we were all watching on the news, everything, all the doom and gloom, and I reached out to TV to ask if they wanted to hear of a good Phil story. Here's someone that was really heartbroken. He couldn't collect his bottles, and then we did this, and the end result was that everyone saved. So then we were on TV. So that was a great thing for Tom, and publicity for 10 Cent Tom.
Yeah, amazing. And I think as well, like one of the upsides of COVID was community, and bringing communities together and bringing people together and supporting each other. So it's really lovely that everybody held on to those bottles for him. He would have made a mozza by the end of that. Because a lot of people were drinking in COVID too, so I'm sure there was a few extra bottles to collect.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you were following on Facebook, you would have seen I put the photo up occasionally of what our garage looked like in COVID, because all the recycling depots closed down.
Oh, so you had to store them all. Oh my goodness me. Well, I was going to say, we do have a question, and I might just quickly pop in. It was just sort of like, you said that Tom was well known in the community. And we know that to build the connections with just your local community, you sort of did the flyer drop off about the collecting of bottles and cans. Was there anything else you did to help build that, like to make him known in the community, or did it just sort of come naturally from doing the recycling?
I think the best publicity was TV, and then we created a 10 Cent Tom Facebook page where we started to share, a day, just about every day we post something up, like what's happened today. And yes, so, and I guess now, like, it's word of mouth too, like people, I know in the early days when I was cold calling to companies and asking, would they take a bin, they didn't know what 10 Cent Tom was, where now I can pick up the phone and go, oh, hi, it's Carolyn from 10 Cent Tom. And then they're silent and like, have you heard of 10 Cent Tom? And they go, oh, yeah, I think we have. We seen him on TV. So, yeah, we've just grown from that.
So just talk me through it. He's got his blue bins. So he puts them in offices as well.
Yeah, offices,
and he's still collecting from the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
And music festivals as well.
Yes, Red Hot.
He's a busy man.
He's a very busy man. And today on the Gold Coast, the weather is atrocious, and he's out there collecting.
Wow. Yeah. And are you still storing them all in your garage before you have to take them, or he goes to the depot every day?
Oh, no, they all come into our garage, and we have about 40 wheelie bins that get emptied every week. So the depot comes and collects them, because the early days, Tom used to like to go to the recycling depot and pop the containers in himself, stand there with crates and crates and crates.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, Tom, we need to start thinking about this, because all the time that we're standing here, we could be out getting some more.
Wow. So what are Tom's dreams and goals for the future? I've heard he wants to open his own recycling depot. Is that right?
Yeah, we want to have the first 10 Cent Tom recycling depot, employing people with disabilities. So, and I think like, we've been driving at this for a good 2.5, 3 years now. So hopefully this is the year. And I feel like if we can get there, the recycling depot will be very well supported by the community. I think, you know, if you have a choice to go and recycle your bottles at 10 cent Tom, or let's say return it or Tomra, and they're all in the same vicinity, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer, but maybe that's because I have a son with a disability, but just, yeah, I think people they're supportive. The community, people want to see people with disabilities included.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, what's the response been to Tom when he's at like the music festivals and things like that? Like you said, he's been up on stage before and told everyone, like, is the response really positive?
Oh, yeah, the response is positive. He likes to tell a dad joke, so he gets to do that on stage. And Red Hot Summer Tour, we've done their recycling for them for 3 concerts now, 3 or 4 concerts. First one, nobody really knew what the blue bins were, what it was all about. The MC spoke about it and had Tom on stage. But now with Red Hot Summer Tour, most of the people that go, they know that what the blue bins are and what they're about. So
like looking at him now, did you think that, you know, young kid with a microphone in a theatre group would be doing what he's doing now?
No. Did I think I'd be doing what I do now? No.
But it's a really great story of how, like, you know, that was one of his strengths when he was younger. And I guess like when it came to friendships and stuff like that, how, you know, upbeat and confident and talkative, how some people might have seen that as, you know, maybe not so much of a strength, but it actually was a strength. And he did this theatre, and here he is standing on a stage at a Red Hot Summer Tour talking about his recycling bins. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So how can anyone watching follow and support Tom? What can we do?
Definitely got to go on Facebook under 10 Cent Tom and give it a like, because I think we have about 17,500 there. So we'd like to get that to 20,000. We have Instagram too, that I'm not that crash hot at, but there are 3,500 followers on there. And if you're really into technology, we do have 10 Cent Tom on TikTok, but we haven't got too many videos on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Facebook, and that you can also, if you keep an eye on our website, 10centtom.com.au, it's currently being updated, but yeah, there'll be some really interesting stuff on there, and more, and yeah, more around. The website is being built as more suitable to like Tom's personality.
Yeah. We do have a question. It sounds like Tom has a lot of family support. What other supports do you use? So I think they're sort of thinking more paid supports. So Tom so Tom's NDIS plan. I'm able to use some of his core support funding there for support for him to do his collections. For example, now he's out with a support worker. The early days it was me, and you know, there's only so much you can do. So yeah, I do use this plan, so he's supported to do that. I think any like I have another friend with a disability, and she is in a wheelchair, non-verbal, and she has a trampoline business. So she has a support worker that obviously she can't put the trampoline up together or tow it. So she has a support worker that has helped her build her business there. So yeah. Yeah. No, it's good to know. And I mean, outside of those sort of paid supports and the family support, do you have sort of friends or neighbours or anything like that help him? Or is it pretty much you?
It's me. We've got a few people that love to volunteer that have met Tom. I've got a friend actually that I made during this journey, met her at a concert, and she came up to Tom and gave him $100 and said, "Mate, I love what you're all about." And we've just become good friends, and any festivals that we do, she'll always put a hand up and say, "Hey, can I come and help?" So yeah. We're supported by so many people. We're very lucky.
Yeah, that's amazing. What else was I going to say? I know that he obviously has his goal of having his depot and employing people with disability. Does he actually employ people with disability to help him at the concerts as well?
Yes, we had at the Red Hot Summer Tour at Broadwater Parklands, there was a team of 10 of us, including myself and Tom. We had a couple of, one of Tom's support, but Tom had a support worker to help. And then we had another 2 guys that in their 40s with disabilities. They had a support worker. Yeah, and it's really nice to include, like, to give them some money and let them be part of this. And, I think the first one of the guys, when he first turned up, he said, "Oh, no, I don't want to do this." And at the end of the night, he was giving me a cuddle and saying, "Can I come back?"
It's a big job, though, and to be very hands-on, wouldn't it? It'd be very tiring.
It's very tiring, and especially, the long days. We're there from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till, I think by the time I got home, the last one was 1 o'clock in the morning. So, trying to gather up, around 27,000 bottles and cans is not the easiest job.
No.
But it's all fun. It's all fun. We get to listen to the music and bop along.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tom's been very, very lucky to have you with, pushing and driving and asking all the questions. Is that something, Tom, like, if before you go and reach out to an organisation or a company, is that something that you and Tom sit down and chat about together? Or is he just like, go for it, Mum?
No, so if we, for example, if we were going to meet with somebody that was interested in having a bin, in the car we'll talk about what, the actions, because if I talk about it, 3 days before, he will have forgotten. So I go, okay, Tom, remember, go in, shake hands, tell them who you are and what you're all about. So, yeah.
But such great skills to develop as well. Like, being able to go in, have a meeting with someone, like shake their hand, having all those processes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always liked that. One of the things with Tom, I always said, it doesn't, you don't know who you're talking to, and don't think because, someone's wearing a suit and is the general manager that, they're not going to want to talk to you or they're better than you. But everyone, I just have taught him that we're all equal. It doesn't matter what job you have.
Absolutely. And I think as well, when when COVID did hit, that really did prove that, people, we relied on the cleaners and, people that were out there doing those essential services, like they were going. So very important roles. I'm mindful that we are sort of coming to the end. If anyone has any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box or in the comment section on Facebook. I would hate to miss any questions that you might have. But what message would you give to other parents whose children might be in the early stages, in those younger years, and they're having those fears around friendships and employment, all the things we worry about when our children are young? Is there anything that you would actually sort of say to them? Is there a message?
I think you just let your child be the child they are, and just encourage them, to believe in themselves.
Yeah. And absolutely. And yes, I love that. They are who they are. Find out what their strengths are and their passions and their interests and pursue that. And I think
and let them follow their dreams. You might have something else in mind for them, but just let them create their path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been so great to talk to you. I'm just going to bring up one little slide. I don't think we've got any other questions. And it looks like, I'm just checking on our Facebook, it doesn't look like there's too many questions on there. But what we will do is we will definitely share the links to the website, to the Facebook, to the Instagram. I'm sure we'll touch base with Tom again and update his good life story. I think this is the second time we spoke to him. And hopefully the next time we speak to him, he's well on his way to the depot.
I hope so.
Is there a time frame? Have you got a time frame around
last year, Brie?
a realistic time frame? Last year obviously didn't happen, but like, you know, do you think that will happen in the next year or two, or is there sort of a plan for when the depot might come about, or it's still a few years off?
I really hope it would be this year. You know, I mean, there's a little bit of red tape to get through. But yeah, it would be amazing if it was this year. You know, Tom's turning 21. It'll be another milestone, really, wouldn't it? 2 million containers, 21, and a depot.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm just going to share my screen one last time. Yes. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I really love talking to you. I love listening to Tom and his stories. I haven't heard many of his dad jokes, so I'll definitely be looking on socials. Does he do them on socials?
Yes, on Facebook on Sundays.
Sunday, all right.
Yes.
All right. Looking
Sunday dad jokes.
Can we submit dad jokes? Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Both Tom and I have really enjoyed being part of Kindred. You know, it just feels like family that we're talking to. So
yeah, I love that. That's awesome. But anyway, yes, thank you so much. Thank you to Tom for being such a legend, and thank you for being such a wonderful guest. I've loved what you've shared today. For everybody else, we do actually have some really exciting events coming up in the next few weeks. So I really encourage you to look at our website and go to the events tab. We've actually just listed a few more this week. We'd also love for you to stay connected with us as well as 10 Cent Tom, and you can do that in a number of ways. You can join our online Facebook community, the Kindred community. This is actually live in there at the moment, but if anyone's watching on Zoom and they want to join, if you just go to Facebook and search the Kindred community, it'll come up as a Facebook group. You can also follow us on socials by searching at Kindred for Families, and we are on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I do encourage you to sign up to our newsletter, and you can do that via our website. Don't worry, we're not going to overload your inbox. We do send out a newsletter every probably fortnight or so, but you'll get inspiring stories, details of upcoming events, some helpful resources, and other opportunities to be part of our community. And one last thing before we finish today's session, if you are watching on Zoom, at Kindred, we're very passionate about making a real difference and ensuring that we effectively support families. So for this reason, we do ongoingly measure the impact of our services to help us understand what we're doing well and where we can improve. So when you do close out of Zoom today, a little survey will pop up. It'll take approximately 1 minute of your time to complete it. And it just helps us really guide how our events are going and making sure that we're reaching you with the relevant information that you want to hear.